record. Thank you. Hi, Lisa. Nice to meet you. Thanks for joining. Also, I'm going to be doing something I've never done before today. I'm going to actually do with you my minimalist beauty routine that I normally do every morning and show you how I use a skincare product, makeup, sunscreen, everything. To share my personal tips about how to really be as mindful as we can when we do skincare. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. 1 second. And also, I would love to know where you are all from. If you can say in the chat, that will help me also to understand the condition of everyone. Hi, Mara. Lisa, you're from Florida. Amazing. I've been to Florida, to Orlando a while back for a conference, and I really loved it. It's such a beautiful state. Hi, Alexa from Canada. Hi, Danielle from North Carolina. Hi, Nancy. Well, welcome to the first masterclass. Actually, this is the last one of the series we've been doing, and we have all the recording available on our website. I think you can watch the discussion we've had with Jessica Defino to talk about how the industry needs to change and why we've been doing skincare products the wrong way. I had also a discussion with Dr. Grace Park last week about Skin Microbiome 101. We talk about food and skin with Jolene Hart. The recording is also on our website, drej.com. And we did a facial yoga class with Idalina. She's our amazing mindfulness instructor. So that was great. Hi, Emma. Oh, sorry to hear that cold is starting in New York. Oh, hi, Steph from Germany. Amazing. A fellow European attendee. That's great. So I'm Dr. Elsa. I'm originally from France, but now I live in San Francisco, California. And actually today, my window is right there. The weather is quite hazy, foggy. It's not super nice. We had a beautiful weekend, but today is much colder. So I hope that you're ready for this unique class. I'm going to start by making a recap about understanding our skin biology. And then I'm really going to break through how a beauty routine should be really turned minimal by going step by step into it. And I will show you example of product I use or other products you can also find on the market that I personally like. I would love to hear also your recommendations, if you have any, or if you have any question. I'm doing the masterclass alone today, but I will be looking at the chat. So feel free to ask any question you have there. Like that, I will try to answer them at the end of the masterclass, or if it's relevant, I will also answer them while I'm presenting. So let's get right into it. I'm going to share my screen. One moment. Let me put in present mode. So for everyone who's new to this, really welcome. I love to organize monthly masterclass, and we just did a very large series over the month of November to talk about beauty beyond the bottle. I'm a French skin scientist by training. I personally have super sensitive skin, and I'm not the only one with that issue because as women, I think it's about 70% of women who actually consider having sensitive skin. So that number is really scary. And I think it really shows that something is broken and wrong about the way we've been using product. And I mean, it's not our fault as customer. I think it's an issue with the industry because we've been, marketing to people to use more product, to do more with their skin. We are very influenced by social media about very heavy routine. And now what a lot of people are realizing today is that actually it's quite bad for our skin, and that we have more skin issue than we have before. If you have, if you have baby at home, you may be, and I hope it's not the case for you, but a lot of children today have more skin issue than we've had ourselves growing up. And it's because we've been using too many products. It's also the environment we live in. It's also our mental health. But anyway, things need to change. And I'm doing those classes to really help you be more empowered about understanding your skin and how to make the best choices for you, for your own skin. So I really hope this will resonate with you. So I'm a skin scientist by training. I was born and raised in Paris, and I moved to San Francisco, California, about 6 years ago now. I have my PhD in skin biology. I'm an expert in understanding how ingredients in a product interact with your skin. I done my PhD on that, and I actually worked at L'Oreal for many years after my PhD, where I was studying product interaction with the skin. But I moved to San Francisco. Sorry, let me just. I moved to San Francisco to work with a lot of small business and other startups where I learned about the microbiome and it's important for skin health. So this is really the mission of the company today to be really providing that guidance regarding our skin. I'm also a clean beauty expert for Credo Beauty, which I've been doing for a few years to advise them regarding skin biology. So first, quickly, to understand why the skin is so important, it's because the skin is your body's largest organ. And the layer we are really interested in when we talk about the skin is what we call the skin epidermis. It's actually the top layer you can feel when you touch your skin. And it's very, very important because that layer actually carries all the function to protect you as a barrier when it comes to your skin. And there is a very thin layer that you don't feel at the top of the epidermis that we call the stratum corneum. And the stratum corneum is absolutely key because actually it's really built like a brick and mortar wall that will really protect your body like a wall, would protect your house. So think about anything you do to your skin, it comes in direct contact first with your stratum corneum. And the stratum corneum is made of dead cells and lipids to really build this cohesive barrier. And a lot of ingredients we put on our skin are actually stripping off that protective barriers, which can be very, very problematic because what happened is that, sorry, I'm just having an issue. All good. It can be very problematic. Oh, sorry, I see that the sharing is off. Sorry, I'm just having a few technical issues today. Okay, all good. It's very, very important because anything you do to the stratum corneum, if you damage it by, like, for example, overwashing, over-exfoliating, using harsh ingredients, it's going to cause more irritation and premature aging to your skin. And of course, that's not what we want. So to understand the skin today, what has changed is that beyond the stratum corneum, we also realized that there was a layer of a microorganism on our skin. And maybe you've heard of it. I'll be curious to know if you've heard or not about the skin microbiome before, but I mean, as a scientist, this is a topic that is completely revolutionizing the industry from like the medical field to the cosmetical field. And why is that? It's because before we thought actually that we needed to kill bacteria, that we wanted to be like super clean. But what we learned today is that actually bacteria are good for you. You need good and bad bacteria on your skin. If you don't have this balance of an ecosystem, it has been shown to actually be linked to some skin issues. So very important to nurture our skin microbiome, and we should really not be scared of bacteria, fungi, or virus on our skin because actually it's a component of our own body, of our skin, and it's here to really keep us healthy. So think about your gut. You've maybe heard about probiotic for the gut in yogurt, in kombucha, fermented food. We know those are very good little bugs you can eat and that you need them for your gut to be healthy. Well, actually, it's exactly the same for your skin. You have all those trillions of bugs. You actually have more of bug cells than you have of human cells in your body. And they all play a very important role, like acting like mini factories on your skin, are creating all that nutrients such as peptides, lipids that are really key for a healthy skin. So very, very important when you think about your skin, that you want to protect this ecosystem of your microbiome and your stratum corneum at the same time. I know this can feel a bit overwhelming, but if you understand that concept, honestly, you will understand everything about skincare. And for you, it's going to be way more easy to make choices when you choose a product for you, or when you also decide to stop using a product, to really know what's best. And that's an example of the slide from the masterclass series we did on the microbiome, where actually what's fascinating about the microbiome is that your face has a unique skin microbiome, but if you look at other areas in your body, such as your armpit, your belly, your foot, your hands, the ecosystem of organism actually change from part of your body. So it's very interesting to think that the environment we put our skin in, whether the face, because it's in contact with the environment most of the time, or when we have a face mask, it can actually also influence those microorganisms. Everything you do to your body, to your skin body, is actually going to influence the microorganisms that live there. And that's what made our microbiome so special. But what's going on, and that's the view I have actually of our skin health, is that a lot of different factors can damage or balance our skin microbiome and skin barrier. The most obvious one that we are going to discuss today are actually skincare products and household products. Every time you put a product in contact with your skin, whether when you're washing your hands, moisturizing your face, using talc powder, in your socks, that's going to have an impact on the microbiome. And unfortunately, most of the time, it's a negative one. So today, the class is about understanding how to learn to build a minimalist beauty routine to really enhance your skin, and especially your skin microbiome. And there are other factors that are very important. Food and gut. If you want to learn about that, you can watch our masterclass with Jolene Hart, where we discuss that. Mental health, extremely important. Actually, we've seen in our own research that this is the number one reason of a skin reaction. Because when you're under stress, when you're going through a tough time, what's happening is that you produce more cortisol in your body. And what the research has shown is that actually cortisol has shown to really damage the skin more, to make it more fragile. So very important. Hormonal changes, we actually see it in our own research on the skin microbiome. As women, if you're going through like cycles, if you're going through like pregnancy or postpartum or menopause journey, all those hormonal shifts have an impact on your skin microbiome. And especially if I think of like trans men or trans women, if you're taking hormonal supplement, I'm sure it also has an impact on the microbiome. So very important to think about that as well in your beauty routine, because the need of someone who went through menopause are not the same as someone who went before menopause. And we see today actually in our data, we saw a big change of microbiome after going through menopause. So very important to think about it and to really always really take care of your skin. Climate and pollution, I think we will talk about it a bit today, because coming into the winter, unless the lucky one in Florida today in the class, humidity is dropping, temperature is dropping, cold wind is coming, and all of it is actually pretty bad for your skin. So you have to protect your skin even more during those winter time. So those are really the big pillar. And a little graphic to explain actually what happens when you have healthy skin or when you have a more damaged skin. When you have healthy skin, your microbiome is supposed to be quite rich with a lot of different types of bacteria that live on your skin. And your stratum corneum has really this like brick and mortar function on the top of your skin. But when you're going through different factors from like skincare that's not right for you, hormonal changes, stress, it's actually impacting your skin barrier negatively. And we see that the microbiome is more deficient, and also that your brick and mortar wall, the stratum corneum, is not cohesive anymore, leading to more like pathogen penetration, irritant penetration, and more skin reactions. If you're interested to learn more about that subject, I highly recommend you to watch the Netflix episode called, I think, Explained about skin, It's fascinating because Dr. Scott Nicky, a great dermatologist, she also explained that concept very well in just 20 minutes. I don't know if you watch it, but really you should. It's a wonderful. Oh, Mara, glad you watch it. I'm so glad to see, you know, that I used to watch TV, you know, like or documentary about skin, and we only talk about, you know, natural ingredient or sustainability, which is absolutely important, but we never talked about what is the impact of everything on our skin. And I think for the first time that Netflix episode actually explained that very, very well. And really focus on skin health rather than other factors that sometimes do not take into impact the skin. Yes, and unfortunately also the impact of marketing that pushed us to use way too many products. So coming into the winter, I wanted really to just show you that code that I took it from a research paper that explained that as little as 15 minutes into the cold weather significantly decrease your skin hydration, dry out your skin, and your skin is more susceptible to chapping. So what's happening is that cold weather will lead you to more of that, to more of like a very disbalanced stratum corneum. So think about it. I'm not even talking about a skincare product. Just knowing that your environment can impact your skin so much, you have to be extra careful when you build your beauty routine. And that's even more of a reason to be minimalist. And if you choose to use product, to only choose product that will really help to reinforce your skin defense and barrier function, you know, to pass through the winter or through stressful time. So how to choose skincare? So you need to go to have always a less is more approach. For that, very important, I think the easiest way when you look at skincare, and it's what actually they say in the Netflix episode and or in any textbook I read about sensitive skin or any dermatologist I talk to, they explain to you, you need to use less product. You need to minimize the product you use every day in your routine. And for the one you decide to use, you should make sure that they do not contain too many ingredients. And why is that? It's very interesting because a heavy routine or using too many ingredients in a skincare product actually has been shown to increase more skin sensitivity. And I think it's because actually it's also impacting your microbiome. So if your microbiome is not here to protect you, you're also getting more reaction. So being minimalist in your beauty routine is way beyond, you know, this fancy trend of the less is more. It's actually good for your skin health. And I would say not just good, it's essential for your skin health. You really, really need to adopt a minimalist approach, a less is more, especially if you don't feel good in your own skin and you feel that your skin is acting up. You know, with social media marketing, the first reflex you have, you know, is to, oh, I'm not happy, I have a breakout with my skin, let's say. What I'm going to do is to buy, oh, maybe this new acne face wash or this new treatment serum. Instead, maybe of thinking, maybe actually it's the product I'm using today that are an issue. So instead of buying new product and adding them to my routine, what if instead I try to really cut off on what I'm doing to see how my skin feels and only start then reintroducing one product at a time by making sure they won't make my skin react and they will actually bring a positive benefit to my skin, because if a product brings no benefits, I mean, you don't need to use it. You know, it's as simple as that. And when you're looking at skincare product, the first thing to look is really to try to avoid certain categories of ingredients. And I know it's not easy. It's not easy to read the skincare label, but the way you do it, and I'm going to try to see if I have a skincare here that shows ingredients. No, sorry. I have only some OTC sunscreen, and our product actually have a very little product list, so it's not the same. But normally in a regular skincare product, in the bags, you will see all the ingredients. In our product, you see the ingredient on the top, and the way legally ingredients have to be displayed, it's from the highest concentrated one, meaning the one that is at the highest quantity, to the one who's at the lowest quantity. Always look like that first. What is the first ingredient you read on the label? Very often it can be water, for example. So if a product contains a lot of water, it means that it will have a lot of preservative, for example, because it needs to kill bacteria in the product. But once it's on your skin, unfortunately, it can have a negative impact. So some of the ingredients, I really want you to try avoid and to always read your label on essential oils and fragrances, especially if you have sensitive skin or reactive skin, because those have been shown to be irritant or allergen. And a derm or an expert like me will always tell you the first thing to do if you need to be gentle with your skin is to go for fragrance-free or essential oil-free products. Preservative. We need preservative in product when they contain water to avoid contamination. However, today, I think it's easy to build a routine that contains either no water to avoid having to have a preservative in the product, or there are a few companies, but it's very niche, who actually have water-based product with no preservative because they've built very safe sterile system in their product. But really preservative are to be avoided because they are basically your microbiome enemies, but you still have to use safe product for you. Botanical extracts, sometimes they can cause reaction. Sensitive skin can be very sensitive to some natural ingredients. So all those flower extract or other extract, you have to be very careful. And if you're in your product, always, apply a little on your face and wait for a few days to make sure that it's not causing any reaction. The acids that we can use as exfoliant, they can be very harsh for the skin barrier because they remove your stratum corneum. So if you need to exfoliate, especially for women post-menopause, our self-exfoliation system actually slows down. And instead of exfoliating every 2 weeks, you exfoliate much less than that. So if you feel that your skin is getting too thick, that you need some exfoliant, you can use some acids, but at a very low concentration and not too often. That's very important. And also be careful of alcohol in products. A lot of serums and toner on the market, unfortunately, they contain a lot of high concentrated irritants that are really not good for the skin and that, in my opinion, don't bring any benefit. Unfortunately, we read, again, marketing, a lot of marketing saying, oh, you need a serum to really push those active into your skin. But remember, if you want to do that, to push an active into your skin is a barrier. So if you want to push something into it, you need to destroy that barrier and come back to that here, which is not good. So unless it's for medical reason and it's something you're doing with a dermatologist, I would recommend you to be very, very careful with those claims and those products that claim to enhance absorption, boost efficacy like that, because it means that it might actually create more irritancy to your skin. And if you decide to use them, really start by using them maybe once a week first, but not every day. You start very infrequently to see how your skin is reacting to it before you move to something more harsh. So those are general advice I would always give to my friend and our community when it comes to choosing skincare. But let's start with actually the product that cause today the most irritation and that are even becoming, I would say, a controversial product. I should have put a screenshot of a tweet I read this weekend about, actually, I think it's a fashion entrepreneur who was saying, since the pandemic, she got rid of all of her face wash and now she cleared up from acne. And she says, so all those anti-acne face wash are a scam. That's why she was claiming. And I thought it was interesting because a lot of the skin issue we can have today are actually due by simply overwashing our face. We were marketing that our face was dirty, we needed to kill bacteria. Well, today we know it's not true. We actually need to embrace those microorganisms on our skin and we need to respect our skin barrier. So for that, I would say my advice as a friend would be never wash your face because I don't think you need it unless a doctor told you to do it, a medical doctor. But if that's not the case, try first by really cutting off on washing. But the reality of everyday life, of course, is that even myself, I like to wear makeup or I use sunscreen, and you need to remove that for your face because it's not good to keep it on your face. So if you have a reason and that you need to clean your face to remove makeup or sunscreen, then in that case, try to use a very, very gentle cleanser and try to avoid ingredients such as sulfate that can be very harsh. And ideally also, And I know it's not very intuitive, but to prefer cleanser that are not foaming. And I will show you some example of that. Because the more it foams, the more it can contain some surfactant. It's those ingredients that create like the soaping, foaming effect that are actually attacking your stratum corneum and microbiome directly. So it's something you want to avoid. I also recommend to avoid double cleaning. I know especially a lot of people and even in our customer who have acne-prone skin, they like to use an oil cleanser first and then a second cleanser to get rid of all residue. I would say I totally respect it, but maybe try to, either try to do it less often or see if you stop the second cleanser, is your skin reacting more or not? Like, just test and try. And of course, if your skin feels very unbalanced, if you're not double cleansing, do it, and preferably with gentle product that will respect your skin and your microbiome. But really try to understand why you're double cleaning and if it's something you really need. And then when it comes to exfoliation, just as I was saying, to really try to not do it too often or not at all. And if you need to do it, really choose like gentle exfoliant and only start once a week. But maybe you don't need to exfoliate at all. And there are different categories, like I would say for all taste of product that actually are very gentle that fall into that category. And I'm going to show you some examples from like oil cleanser, like we do today at the company, to micellar water or even soap-free lotions. And I would love to hear also if you have other example of cleanser you like to use that maybe I didn't mention that you think should be mentioned. So to start, I mean, I personally have super dry skin and I love using oil cleanser. I started using oil cleanser, I would say 4 years ago. And I've tried so many on the market. And unfortunately, what I noticed is that especially the Clean Beauty oil cleanser, they tend to contain a lot of fragrance or essential oils. And I completely stopped using fragrance in my life. And I became very sensitive to it. Even just the smell of fragrance doesn't make me feel well. So that's why I created some very simple and gentle oil cleanser that contain 4 or less ingredients to really try to educate about how you can gently clean without, overwashing your face and also keep your face moisturized after you clean. So 2 examples I have here. The first oil cleanser we launched was called Begin Again. It's only 4 ingredients. It's made mostly of avocado oil. And it contains a small amount of surfactant to really help remove, makeup and sunscreen from your face, and you can rinse it with water or a washcloth. And it's very nice because it's actually, it has almost the consistency of a serum. So this is what it looks like. So it's very nice. And it's funny because one day a friend thought this was the serum and she used the cleanser as a serum every day, and it actually works really well on her skin. But don't do that, okay? It's a cleanser. But just to explain to you that it's super gentle. And we just relaunched our no soap cleanser that is great actually for also skins that are afraid to break out, because it's made mostly of organic jojoba oil that is completely refined and fragranced. And it's also with castor seed oil. But what's very special about that product is that we made it with no soap agent. So you cannot rinse it with water. You need to use a washcloth, but it's very nice. And it's to show that actually you don't need a very complicated product to clean your face. What's important is to have high quality ingredients and try to use products that are free from irritants. And those 2 cleansers have been, we tested in the lab to show that they actually don't impact the skin microbiome. So they are what we call microbiome friendly. But if you're not into oil cleanser, some other example that actually is very, very popular in France are micellar water. A lot of my friends love using micellar water. I have dry skin and personally I prefer oil cleanser. Micellar water make my skin a bit too tight. But I have friends with a similar skin as me and they actually love it. So actually, we are all different. The way micellar water are made is that it contains mostly water with a small amount of soap that is very, very diluted. So you don't use it as a soap, like it's not going to foam. It's actually just like water. You can use it with a sustainable cotton pad, for example, to remove it from from your face. It's very popular in France, and the brand Bioderma, I think, was the first one to start that type of product. And now much more brands are actually doing similar products. And another cleanser I've been using from time to time that I really like is this lotion cleanser from Avène. Especially when I was pregnant, my skin was reacting a lot. So I was using either our oil cleanser, and from time to time, I like to change for like a lotion cleanser because it's very different. What's very interesting is that you use it as a cream. I don't have it here with me, but basically you apply a little in your hand, and I would just massage my face with it to get rid of dirt or sunscreen. It's not as effective as the oil cleanser to remove makeup, but it's also quite nice. And what I love about Avène is that it's very gentle, and also this product has water, but it's sterile. So it means that it contains no preservative, no fragrance, and it's also a very minimal ingredient list. So those is an example of other type of cleanser I would recommend to try if you're not into oil cleanser. Let me know if you have any question regarding cleanser, because I'm going to move to the moisturizing part, which is the second step of a beauty routine, and explain to you how I like to choose a moisturizer. So in moisturizers, the issue is that we think that a lot of products can be very simple, but when we look at them, actually they can contain a lot of ingredients. So my recommendation for moisturizer will be really to go to products that are not too processed, meaning that do not use too many ingredients. And that's why in general, I would recommend to avoid using cream or lotion, because the way cream and lotion are made is that it's a mix of water and oil together, and you need to add up a lot of ingredients to actually create a nice texture, a stable product, meaning that it's not going to decompose over time, and that is also pleasing on the skin. So some creams have more minimal ingredients than others, and I will show you some examples. But in general, and that's the switch I did for me as well, is that I've been using only oil-based moisturizer for my skin. And I see that also people with acne-prone skin should not be afraid to use oil, because sometimes it's also very nice, and it's not necessarily going to break out your skin. When you decide to use oil-based product, especially if you have an acne-prone skin, what I would recommend you to do is to check the comedogenicity of the oils you're going to use, because some oils are known to create more breakout than other oil. For example, oils that are not supposed to cause breakout are, for example, squalane, oat oil, I think even jojoba oil, but other oil, for example, like coconut oil, for example, that some people love using, for other, it's actually going to cause breakout. So very important to look if an oil you're going to use is going to be comedogenic or not. So if you want to make the switch to become more minimalist in terms of ingredient when you need to moisturize, I would recommend you really look at the oil you're using. Try to use very simple oil product with just a few ingredients, and not like a list of 10 plus, because then it's a headache to do. But product that have less than 5 to 10 ingredients, I would say then preferably less than 5 when it comes to moisturizing, and make sure that they're not comedogenic. And what you can do, is just for like a few days to just apply a little on a little skin patch, just to make sure that your skin is okay with it and it's not making you break out. So that's what would I recommend. Moisturizing, in my opinion, is the most important step of your routine, because when you moisturize your skin in the right way, you're actually reinforcing your skin barrier, your stratum corneum. And when the skin gets dry, it's more prone to irritation. So it's very, very important to always keep your skin moisture. I've personally tried to stop all ingredients, all products during the pandemic. And I realized if I was not moisturizing my face, my face was actually super red and dry. So that's a step that I always needed to keep. And also I have rosacea. So moisturizing for my skin is very important. So that's how I went. So I'm going to show you some example of moisturizer I found on the market that I think are interesting. I will start with the cream first. two examples of cream I've personally used over the year. Avène, same, I like them because they have a lot of sterile product, and this cream has very minimal ingredient list and no preservative. And it's also made for sensitive skin with absolutely no fragrance or added irritant. So that's the Tolerance Extreme is a nice cream. I used to, before I switched to oils a few years ago in France, I was always using Toleriane Ultra for La Roche-Posay. I think the ingredient list is very small, like 10 or less. And also I think they have no preservative or a very, very tiny amount of preservative. And they use this nice, like a hairless capsule packaging that is pretty nice. And it's a good product. My husband also was using it when I would. It's quite rich, and for me it was quite nice to keep my skin moisture all day long. But when I discovered about the microbiome and I wanted to go more into very, very simple product, and that I designed the current line we have, I created 3 types of moisturizing serum. It's a very unique all blends product that are here to really lock up your moisture and help you avoid the dry patch. And I will show you how I use them. We have 3 different products. The first one I launched, actually, the first product I created a while ago, it's called Start Over. I recommend it for anyone who has like a dry to normal skin. If you have acne-prone skin with a skin that is not too dry, I highly recommend Haute Power. It's an amazing product moisturizer for anyone who has acne-prone skin or oily skin. The main ingredients of Start Over and Haute Power are squalane. So I see, Emma, you have a question about squalane or squalene. There is a difference between squalane with an A, and I'm going to type it here, and squalene with an E. The reality is that squalene is less stable than squalane, and it can sometimes cause breakout. So if you have acne-prone skin and you're worried about squalene, do not be worried about squalane. Of course, test it first on a small patch of your skin for a few days to make sure it's right for you. But I love squalane. Even pure squalane as a face oil is amazing. I recommend to source it from sugarcane or olive oil. But squalane is really great because it's also mimicking your natural sebum. And I think that's what those two moisturizers, Start Over or Haute Power, are pretty magic, because you feel it's part of your skin when you apply it, and you don't feel you have something sitting on top of your skin. So the way I use the Start Over serum, I personally use it every morning in my routine. If I don't use it, my skin is bad. I just apply a few drops into the palm of my hand, and then I'm going to like spread it. I put it in little drop, and then I like to massage it from the chin to the upper part of my face to fight gravity a bit. I'm 37 years old, and I'm starting to get wrinkles, so I want to be. I like to massage and to try to really relax my face for my expression wrinkle. If you've been to our facial yoga class, there are some exercises also we can do when we apply the product. I love the eye tapping exercise, for example. It's very nice to relax the eye area. I like also to do like a little forehead split like that to relax my forehead, or some like gentle tapping also on the jawline. So I apply my moisturizer like that. In the winter time, I personally have some dry patch, and I thought that, okay, Start Over and Haute Power are 2 really great products to moisturize every day, but when you have some dry patch, sometimes your regular everyday moisturizer is not enough. And that's why I designed the Bio Restore. Instead of having the base as squalane, like Haute Power or Start Over, this one is made of a refined and premium sunflower oil. And I formulated 2 bioactive in it from passion fruit and oat to really actually restore your stratum corneum. It contains natural ceramide to really help restore it. What I do on top of it is that I apply, honestly, just 1 drop. 1 drop of Bio Restore as a little booster. This is where I have my dry patch usually. And even 1 drop, I would say, is too much. You really need a very, very tiny amount. And instantly, it clears my dry patch immediately. Some customers love to use the Bio Restore as their everyday moisturizer. For start over, what's very unique is that it's a blend of squalane and sachainchiol that really help also to avoid inflammation of your skin. I think that's why it really calms down the skin more even than regular squalane. And the Haute Power, what is very unique is that it contains 5% of oat oil, which is really great to rebalance the skin and avoid breakout. That's why I highly recommend the Haute Power for anyone with acne-prone skin. I see we have some questions. I'm going to read them. Tamara, you're saying Bioderma Sensibio is propylene glycol. I know. So I agree with you. The Bioderma formulation for micellar water is not ideal. Why I recommend it? It's because I think there are millions and millions of people with sensitive skin who used it, and it's been recommended even by sensitive skin experts. So like you, I'm not a fan of the ingredient list, but it seems to be working for certain type of skin, and the experts have recommended it. I haven't found any alternative to like cleaner micellar water. If you know any, I would love to know. A lot of my friends actually who don't like oil cleanser, they like to use that product. But yeah, I agree with you. It's not great. But I think that the concentration that they display are very, very tiny because this product is actually, I think, 99% of water. So it's at a very, very small percentage. But still, thanks for bringing that up. And Daniel, you had a question about what do you think of using a microfiber cloth and water for cleansing? That's a really good question. You know, actually, I bought, I forgot the name of that product. They say, you know, you can clean and remove everything from your face with just like a little washcloth by using no product. And so I was very seduced by the concept. I personally only used it twice because my skin felt too tight by just using water. The thing is that water itself can be an irritant. And for some skin like me, and maybe that's why I don't like micellar water either, is that using water on my face, just water, feels super tight. Whereas when I use a non-cleanser, it doesn't strip my skin as much. I would be curious to know, Daniel, if you've tried it. I think I forgot the brand. I think it's a brand that was advertising a lot last year. And so I got seduced by the concept also like you. And my experience was not the best, but I mean, I think it's a great concept because it really changed the mindset about using, you know, necessarily product for your face. So those are my recommendations as moisturizer. And then a category of product that I know a lot of us will be using either before the moisturizer or just after, or like toners, serums, and anti-aging treatment. At the beginning of the class, I explained my opinion on toner and serum, why I don't like them. I think it's because most of the time they are too irritant for the skin. I'm really not convinced about that. And also I have a hard time with all the marketing that push you to use active for your skin, because very often actives, even like retinol, that has shown a lot of efficacy against wrinkle, can be extremely, extremely irritant. And what we say in the industry is that if retinol, for example, had been discovered today, it would have probably never gotten an authorization to be launched as a cosmetic product because of all its side effects. So if for you it's important to use active into your routine and you're using, for example, retinol, I would recommend to use it only very occasionally at first. Do not apply it every day, and only start with a small percentage of retinol. So don't go for like the promotion of like very high percentage, very small one, like 1% or less, and make sure that the other ingredient on the formula are very gentle. An example I've seen is, for example, the Baby Beauty for just $10. I think they're doing a bakuchiol, so it's a clean version of retinol with only squalane. So I thought, I haven't tried it because I don't use any active, but for people who do, I think that's a way you can try. Yeah. So that will be my recommendation. Oh, Daniel, you're saying that the microfiber clothes work for you. That's great. I mean, as long as your skin doesn't feel tight or reactive, you know, I think it's what matters. So that's, no, but you see, don't use any cleanser if you don't need it, honestly. You don't need to use cleanser if you don't need to. So I think it's great that you found something that works great for you. Okay, great question. I was about to talk about vitamin C. So vitamin C have positive things because they are very good active to help to prevent hyperpigmentation, as it's a strong antioxidant. And the same as for retinol, some people can be quite sensitive to vitamin C. It's recommended to use more in the morning. So try to find a vitamin C serum, start at a low dose, and don't use a serum that will have harsh ingredient in the vitamin C. Especially because I think the vitamin C, you need it on top of your skin anyway. So try to use vitamin C in a very gentle base. Try only once a week at the beginning to make sure you have no reaction. And also try to understand why you want to use vitamin C. If you suffer from pigmentation issue, maybe vitamin C is the type of active you should be using. But I would say more importantly than your vitamin C, if you need to help with pigmentation, the product you need to look at is sunscreen. Sunscreen, like you need sunscreen, and very often when you use a sunscreen, most of the time, you actually stop needing to use active because most of the sun impact to our skin is responsible to our premature aging. And I think it's like 90% of skin aging is actually from the sun. So if you choose a sunscreen that's right for you, it will also prevent pigmentation issue or scarring issue you can have from certain, from like breaking out, sometimes that leaves scarring and pigmentation too. But if you make sure that your skin is protecting from the sun, it should help to limit that. So those will be my recommendation. Also using gentle product, in my opinion, will promote your skin longevity because if you're respecting your microbiome and your skin barrier, it's going to cause less reaction and your skin won't suffer from premature aging as much as if you've been doing like very harsh treatment and using a lot of products. So sunscreen is extremely important. You need to use sunscreen ideally every day, especially if you're going outdoor. You need to use at least an SPF 30. And I would recommend to use only zinc oxide sunscreen that are broad spectrum. So when you choose a sunscreen, I have one from Coats here, you need to read that it's written, that it's broad spectrum protection to make sure that it covers both from like UVA and UVB to be fully protected. I listed here one of my top 3 favorite sunscreen today. So Coats sunscreen is great because it has a lot of ingredients, to be honest, but it contains no preservative and it's a zinc oxide SPF 40 that leave no white cast. So if you have a dark skin tone, it's also good. My husband has brown skin and so I can show you, I can apply a little here. You see, it's we don't really see the white cast. Pipette 50, I don't have it with me right now, but it's really great first because it's a zinc oxide with an SPF 50 protection, which is the maximum protection you can find, and it's great. And it's also good for babies. So if you have children that need sunscreen, Pipette, I think right now for me is the best one on the market. But don't forget, like even I have a 9-month-old son and I just started using sunscreen on him very, very recently. You need to wait that the baby is at least 6 months old to use sunscreen. Before that, always try to use protective clothing like a large hat and try to just avoid being in the sun with a baby in general. And same with children because any sunburn from childhood can really cause skin damage on the long time. So very important to use as much close covering as we can and then sunscreen also on top of it. And recently, I discovered a new sunscreen actually at Credo Beauty. It's the 11 sunscreen that was developed with Venus Williams, the tennis champion. And that's my favorite sunscreen ever for every day. If I go on a hike, I will use more like a Coats or Pipette because it's a higher protection. But for every day, I love the 11 one because you don't feel you're actually having sunscreen on you. And I think they call it like sunscreen serum because of that, because it's different. So it looks very white, but actually it really doesn't leave a white cast. So I'm just going to apply a little today, but make sure you always apply enough sunscreen. So that's, and you see, honestly, it's a little expensive, but it's such a wonderful product that that is not causing me any reaction. I really like it. So make sure you spread it all around your face and you see it leaves you don't see at all I have a sunscreen and it's only zinc oxide. So now there have been, I think, a lot of improvement. Before, mineral sunscreen could leave you, you know, a white cast. Now it's not the same anymore. You can really find like very nice texture that are clear, that won't create any whiteness to your skin. So those are my top favorite. And then makeup. Well, I think the key to makeup is to find makeup that you can easily remove. Like you said, Danielle, with just like a microfiber cloth and water, or with like a gentle oil cleanser, that you don't have to use like a very harsh cleanser to remove makeup. And for that, the secret is ideally to not use too much makeup, just light makeup. Dermatologists also recommend powder cosmetics instead of liquid foundation, because liquid foundation can make your skin more dry. My tip, and I will show you how I do it, is to mix, if you need to use foundation, to mix it with a moisturizer. So let's say I use Start Over. I will mix my liquid foundation with 1 drop of Start Over and the foundation to make sure it's very gentle on my face. Very common black color for eyeliner and mascara, because apparently colored ones such as, you know, green, purple, all those fancy colors can actually contain more irritant or allergen as pigment. So that's what I've been reading. And also to avoid waterproof cosmetic, actually I've been using, and I will show you in my routine, for example, the Ilia mascara. It's my favorite one. It's very easy to apply. It has great efficacy. You will see the before and after. And also it's so easy to remove. With our oil cleanser with Begin Again that I use, like I remove it like that. It's great. And something that dermatologists recommend is that you can use thermal spring water to fix your makeup. I like to use it before makeup personally. Like ideally, I use it before I use any moisturizer to refresh my face if I want to. It's what I like about thermal spring water is that it contains a lot of minerals that are good for your skin, and that's great. So I just apply a little like that. Danielle, glad that it's your favorite too. So some example of like makeup routine you can do every day for like little makeup. Personally, I have a little redness and dark circle. I have a little baby, so every morning I'm awake with his cries at 5:30 or 6 a.m. So I really need a lot of concealer now to look good. Some concealer I love using. I've tried different, like I was very intrigued by the RMS one because it's only a few ingredients. It's very gentle. On my skin personally, it's a bit dry. So I always need to use it with some of my serum to blend it. Or very recently, I discovered a new brand. It has more ingredients, but it worked really great on my skin. It's called Monica Blender. And it's the same. It's like a concealer foundation. So I will show you how I use it. So you remember the tip about using moisturizer and foundation together? Well, I do that for my concealer. So let's say I apply here like a drop of Start Over. With my overhand, I'm going to blend some of the balm. You see, it looks like it's like a balm, a bit like the Glossier concealer. And I blend it on my hand with the oil to make sure like that it's not going to be too dry when I spread it on my face. So I have a little rosacea here that I like to cover. Honestly, I don't put foundation. Usually it's really just on my dark circle and rosacea. That's it. I used to apply foundation on my nose. I have a very long nose and sometimes it's red, but it looks weird when I have makeup on my nose, and I realized since I stopped doing it, actually it's better. So you see, that's a great way to start to cover. When it feels set up, what I like to use is I've been using for like 20 years the Bare Mineral powder because it has an SPF protection, and I found a color that is really good for my skin. But now I don't use every day a powder foundation. Sometimes I just stop with just a little concealer like I've done. So I just apply a bit on a brush, and then I just like that cover up. I don't like when my skin is shining, so that's why I think I've always been using a powder cosmetic. It's the first time I'm applying makeup in my office space. So that's it, you see. And one thing I like to do is to use a bronzer. Otherwise, I feel like I look a little pale. So I discover Lawless Beauty. They have quite a nice powder bronzer, but honestly, you can use any brand. Recently, I discovered from Vapor Beauty, and I really like that company, a bronzer balm. I had never done that before. I thought it was interesting as it's all based, so I can show you how it works. It's weird, you just apply a bit like that, and you spread it very easily, and it gives a nice little touch. I don't do contouring. It's more like to give like a little more color to my skin, like that. And that's it. If I have a special occasion because I'm going out, or I want to look good, I like to use from Ilia actually a highlighter, but that's really unnecessary. It's more like a nice to have, especially with the holiday coming in. That's a rose gold water color that you can use for like any skin type. I usually apply it with a little brush like that on my cheek to give a little glow. And I used to wear a lot of eye color, like eye powder, but I stopped, and now I just put a little of a highlighter like that if I want to, and I feel like it's enough. I am more of a lipstick person now, so that's what I do. I tried from Weissman Atelier another highlighter. I don't like it as much because the texture doesn't feel so great. It's like that, and it's more like a balm feel. You can you spread it like, it's a little pricey, and it's not, for me, it was not I think I prefer using the Ilia. This one feels like a bit too sticky maybe on my face. So that's it. And then I apply my Ilia mascara like that. At the bottom, you see, on my over. I think I put a little the brush in my eye, but that's okay. So yeah, that's it. And if I'm going out, I like to use some lipstick. Same, I really like Vapor Beauty because their lipstick are super moisturizing. The tint is not very strong, but it's very nice, and I don't have to use any lip balm if I use that one. Et voilà, that was my typical beauty routine every. Not every day the makeup, but as I have a lot of Zoom call now, like for work and business, I want to look good. So yes, I like to apply a little of makeup, but this is what I do most of the time. And those are some examples of the brand I like to use. But even for your makeup, I would recommend to always check your ingredient. But even myself, to be honest, I don't always look at the ingredient at makeup. I focus more on the color and texture. But if you feel your skin could be reacting from makeup, it's important to be very selective also of the makeup products. Tamara, you have a question. My thought on silicone in sunscreen and makeup. So I don't think silicone are bad for your skin because actually, and for example, the Code sunscreen do have silicone, so it leaves like a nice touch. But it's bad in the sense that it's not sustainable. It's like microplastic almost, and it's really hard to recycle. So I would recommend to try to stay away from silicone as much as you can. I also try to go silicone-free for my hair. I have very long hair now. I need to cut them. I didn't have the time to go to the hair salon in a long time. But same for product, using a silicone-free product for your hair is better, but it doesn't always work as well as using product with silicone. So it's about trying to not using every day at all. And same with my hair, I only wash my hair once or twice a week. I think it's very important also to try to minimize also your hair routine and think a lot of the reaction you have on your face can come from your hair care product, because when you wash, it comes to your eyes, or, even my hair now, I have like a hair mask and it comes in contact with my skin, and some people have rashes, and actually it's because of the hair product, not because of the skin product. Yeah, the issue with silicone for me, in my opinion, is really sustainability. It's the same issue as, what we call mineral oil, like Vaseline, that are petroleum derivative. They've been criticized a lot. I think they are important for certain skin type, especially atopic skin, to protect, but it's really bad in terms of sustainability. My favorite sunscreen is for, like, I would say for every day, if I don't need a high protection, is by far the Eleventh, but I know it's a bit pricey. If I go outdoor, I like to use the coats. So I know it contains silicones, but it's preservative-free. And I don't use it very often, only when I go hiking. Otherwise, I use a SPF 30 and an SPF 40. I haven't found an SPF 50 that was good on my skin. The pipette is not so good for me. I use it on my baby, but not on me. But otherwise, it's cause. So Aline, you're saying you're using a drop or two of Haute Power on top of your Alimer Pro powder foundation in the winter. Well, glad to hear. Yeah, I think it's a great tip. If a product feels dry on your skin, just add up like a drop or two of a moisturizing serum, just to help make it more gentle for you and not make it drain out. Will my cleanser remove water-resistant sunscreen? I think that's a good question. For me, to remove my sunscreen, what I recommend you to do is to use a washcloth with it that you simply, fold, and you use lukewarm water on it, and you pat it on your face after cleaning to make sure you have no residue left. You can always get either a trial size of the cleanser for only $25 it comes with a trial size of the cleanser and the serum. I don't think if I have any here with me on my desk right now. Oh, here, I have a mini BioRestore that I use when I travel. You have two dropper like that come in the trial size. And like that, you can try at home to see if the product are right for you, or you can try the full size directly. And if you're not happy, we refund you, no problem. So thanks a lot for attending the masterclass. If you stay through the end, we have a special discount for you, but our mission at the company is really to make products that will embrace your skin microbiome and really help, help to support your skin goals. And recently, because we realize products are important, but we should really shift from using product and try to understand our skin better, we launched the skin microbiome test, where basically the idea was that with just a simple swab, you can discover all about the bacteria and fungi that you have on your skin, discover your own microbiome, and get also personalized recommendation based on your profile, like you've seen during the class about ingredient and active you could be using. And it's based on your skin issue and skin goals. We help you build that routine with a personalized recommendation and the type of product you could be using. And we also provide a food recommendation. So it's very easy. You can buy the kit at Credo Beauty, or also our product there. You activate it online. You take a simple skin quiz, then you swab, like you see on the picture, your forehead, and you mail it back and you receive your personalized data. It's also a product you can gift for your loved one during the holiday. I think it's pretty cool. It's a bit like 23andMe, but we don't look at your human DNA. We actually look at your DNA of bacteria and fungi, so you can get all your results. And this is what your reports look like. You discover about how much bacteria and fungi you have on your face. What is your microbiome score? If it's balanced or unbalanced, and also a description of all the different bacteria and fungi you have on your skin. Unfortunately, it's only for the US today, and I don't want to lie, because if I do not, I don't think you can ship back the sample from another country. I don't know if it will pass the border or not. So I would recommend it to only use it if you're in the US regarding the microbiome test, or to ship it back from a US. We provide a prepaid envelope with a USPS. Violetta, you can always try with DHL and put the same address that we have on the prepaid envelope and try, but I cannot guarantee I cannot guarantee that it's going to work. But what's very unique today is that we are offering 25% off for 24 hours, even on the kit, which we don't usually do. So you can actually get the microbiome kit at home to discover your microbiome, or also get the product line. I'm checking right now if the code is actually activated or not, because sometimes I forget to do it. Yeah, let me just activate it. So if you want to use it now, you will be able to. Okay. All right, now it's working. So you can use it. So I'm going to leave some time for the question. Daniel, I see you have a question. Let me check. Okay. So Caroline, you had a question about, would you recommend using prescription tretinoin as an anti-aging product only once or twice a week? I think, Caroline, it really depends on why your dermatologist will give you tretinoin, if it's for like acne reason or for anti-aging reason. If it's for acne, it's something I would really discuss with them because it's more medical. Anti-wrinkle is more, I would say, cosmetic. And what dermatologists recommend is actually you start only once a week, because tretinoin is very potent. It's a very potent form of retinol, so it can really cause inflammation. So only start once a week, see how your skin feels, try to use a very good moisturizer on top of it. We have a lot of customers who love to use Start Over with their retinoid treatments for anti-aging, just to help support that. That would be my recommendation. I hope this will help. So Daniel, you have a comment. My dermatologist prescribed benzoyl peroxide and clindamycin mixture for my acne. I know it must be bad for my microbiome. How bad is it? I'm going to do the microbiome skin test. Should I? So if you're under a treatment, do not stop it before you talk to your dermatologist. I think that's important. If you're using prescription product, that's a question we ask you actually when you take the test. So do it like that. You will see actually the state of your microbiome with the acne. If you feel that the treatment is not working for you, I would recommend you to talk to your dermatologist to have a plan to maybe stop it and try to see what works better for you. I don't know, Daniel, if you've tried to minimize a bit your routine and try maybe to use less product to see if that could help with your acne. Well, first, I'm sorry to hear that you're going through that. It's not great. You're using, unfortunately, antibiotic that can work for certain time of acne, but sometimes it's actually not very effective to use that for the skin. So the best is really to do it with a dermatologist who also understands the skin microbiome, to make sure that they take that into account. And maybe, if you take the test, the test is not a medical diagnosis, but it's a very serious analysis that we do in partnership with a very serious analytical lab. So I think it's okay to bring even the report to your dermatologist to show them your microbiome data. If they know anything about the microbiome, hopefully they can have more insight. Maybe it can help also understand a bit better your skin issues. That would be my recommendation. Hi, Julie. Thank you for your comment. No, unfortunately, we still don't ship to Europe. I'm sorry. I hope my aim is to try by the end of next year to be able to ship to Europe. But at the moment, we only ship to the US. Megan, which moisturizer will feel best if you have both acne and dry skin? My recommendation would be if you have active acne, I would recommend to start with Haute Power and see if this is moisturizing your skin enough or not. And if that's not the case, then you can try Start Over. Another option is to try BioRestore. Actually, some people love using it as their main moisturizer, but you could try, for example, Haute Power with a drop of BioRestore in the area that still feels too dry certain time, or just Haute Power. You can get the trial size, you can even get a trial size of both Haute Power and Start Over to try them both and see how it feels for you. That would be my recommendation. Thank you all for your time. It was great to share that my minimalist routine with you. I hope you enjoy the little demo. I will try to do that more often. That was a lot of fun for me to do. So have a wonderful week. This session was recorded, so we will try to share it on our journal section in the website. like that you can watch it again if you missed the beginning, and for all the people who could not enter also. Merci and have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.